Welcome to the Voices of Young People podcast, brought to you by Springtide Research Institute. In each episode, we hear directly from young people as they respond to our research and share about the issues impacting their lives. As sociologists and researchers, we see a new story unfolding for young people, one that moves beyond traditional institutional boundaries and requires careful attention to the inner and outer lives of emerging generations. At the intersection of being and becoming, it's the Voices of Young People.
Hi, I'm Marta Abawaji, the head of community engagement at Springtide, and we're continuing in season 5 of the podcast, which coincides with our newest report, The State of Religion and Young People 2021, Navigating Uncertainty. And in the second half of the report, hopefully you've had a chance to see it, because the digital version is free on our website and the print edition is really affordable thanks to a generous donor. You can find that on our website or Amazon. But in the second half of the report, we go into this concept called Faith Unbundled. And I think this episode really puts those findings and the insights shared in that section of the report further into practice, because we have this wonderful young person, Amethyst, who is a professional dancer in Chicago, sharing about the ways that they're seeking to connect different elements, different histories and spiritual practices from multiple identities they hold to practices and elements they find meaningful within Christianity. Those identities that they name include being African American, being Indigenous, being queer, and all those different pieces that they are trying to connect. They even say trying to marry them in ways that feel right to them, to give them a real holistic sense of who they are and the ways that they want to practice spirituality in their life and the way they want to exist in the world. They describe God as a feeling of safety. They look to nature to feel rooted, and they utilize dance as well as beatboxing as forms of prayer. So I really think you're going to enjoy this episode and take a lot from it. Here's Amethyst.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amethyst Rose. I am 24 years old, and I currently am in Chicago, Illinois. My pronouns are them, they, and their. And a fun fact about me is I love comic books. And my favorite superhero group is the X-Men. And my favorite superhero out of the X-Men is Aurora Monroe, also named as Storm. I am connected to Christianity, and specifically I was brought up in the Baptist church. I'm originally from the South, Georgia. So my grandfather was a presiding elder and also a minister. And then when I moved to Illinois, I crossed over to TUCC. And I think I always know it as the prefix and never as the actual meaning. So forgive me on that. But my mother is also a minister, and she was a deacon first before becoming a minister. So I'm really engaged in Christianity. So in terms of being connected to the community, I would say in this point of my life right now, I'm kind of in my own exploration. And that is because I feel like in the journey of Christianity, there are very strict rules and I guess the theories and mindsets that you have to walk through in that faith. And I feel like if you feel like you are born different from those guidelines, it's really hard to not only feel a part of the community, but feel as empowered as you should feel when you are believing in a religion. So in my life right now, I feel like as an African American, or to others, an Indigenous person, I have been trying to see how I can connect my heritage, which I believe has been in music, it has been in ritual, it has been in food and clothing, also in different mindsets, but more nature rooted, and see how I can connect that to Christianity for myself so that I can, just like, like when you're in class, math class, or, any type of class, and they're like, you're moving from one section to the other section. And, teachers are always like, find the connections from other past chapters that can help you figure out the new part. So I feel like where I am right now is I'm trying to use my heritage and my history, and trying to connect that to Christianity has been, here for a while. So that's also history. So different histories. And I'm trying to find a way to marry them that will allow me to not only see God, which is what we're striving for, but to see myself in God. Which I feel like that's the biggest part, because we're a reflection of God. So if I don't see my reflection, I don't see God. So yeah. The moments where I felt like I was really centered in my faith and in my being, I think I would have to say in my lowest moments. And I say that because the annoying thing, but the blessing is that when you're at your lowest moment, like, you are out of touch. There's no, I need to pay my bills, I need to like go shopping, I need to call my friend back, or I gotta go. It's like you are not here. And I remember the first time that I felt like I hit rock bottom and I walked back into the world. I felt numb. I felt unreal. And I feel like we have that moment with God so many times where it's like, we feel like God is so like omnipresent that it's like, is God real? Like, am I believing in something that's like not really, not really happening? And that's, when you hit rock bottom, it's that shock of like, oh my God, oh my God, this just happened to me. And I feel like that moment where you're like, I'm still a baddie. I still got it. I need to move on. And it'll dissipate as you go back to status quo and you just cope with whatever you carrying. But it's that moment where you have convinced yourself that I can keep moving. I feel like that's when I've had the most faith, because other people have chosen to end themselves or react in a very rational way that not only hurts them, but hurts other people. And I think because I'm naturally, even though I have the power to be destructive, I'm naturally a loving person, that I would rather have peace first before choosing the violence. So it's like, even in my angriest moments where I've done released all of the anger, I'm still like, okay, but like, what's next? Like, you're not giving up on life, are you? Okay, let's keep, yeah, that's right. It's okay. Yeah, we still bleeding, the wound is still there, boo. But we are able to still move on. So yeah. When I felt exhausted, I guess I'll piggyback on like the high moment. I feel like after you made that decision, healing is exhausting. Like, annoyingly exhausting, because even when you feel like you have recovered, you haven't recovered. I was in a car accident this past summer in September, and everybody else's injuries were a little bit severe than mine, but I happened to be in the passenger seat in the front seat. And I only walked away physically with a seatbelt burn on my on my right collarbone, excuse me. But, as of course, the shock of the accident, my body has, it has taken a blow. But the interesting thing about the scar and her really bringing it back to my normal skin is that it takes a year for, even when the scar has come back to your physical skin, it takes a year for the body to fully come back together. And so I feel like the rock bottom that I was talking about, I felt like that kind of like catapulted into other things, mini rock bottoms. But I felt like that had given me the strength to endure everything that had came after that. But as I've endured that, I have felt an overwhelming exhaust because, I believe also that God has given us within their reflection of themselves gifts that everyone has. And other people may believe that to be witchcraft or, believe it to be hocus pocus, but I believe it to be human gifts that all humans have. And so just like an octopus can disguise itself in its environment, us humans can feel other people's energies. We may call that discernment, or we may call that sensitivity. Other people are able to hear God's or see God's messages through dreams. We may call that clairvoyancies, or you may just call that being psychic. So as I felt that high faith moment of pushing on and now feeling this exhaust from healing, that's also been because I've been blessed to have more responsibilities within my spiritual gifts and how I move in the world. And so I feel like once you also have that rock bottom for God to rebuild you back up and give you your next level, you're also going to experience this overwhelming of supercharge, because now you're producing energy at a different rate. And now you're taking in energy at a different way. So and it's a good exhaust. It's not a bad exhaust. It's just like, oh, girl, I'm walking up this hill. I'm about to go down, but oh, my legs hurt, or I'm fatigued, or like, oh, but it's still like I can feel strength now to continue to push through.
Just a quick break to give a shout out. Springtide is able to offer this podcast because of donors who make our research and actionable insights possible. A reviewer of our work recently said, "Research from Springtide doesn't read like a dense report full of tables or data that is hard to wade through or understand. The colorful spreads of infographics paired with quotes and analysis make it very reader-friendly. As someone who has worked with young people for years, I'm grateful to have research confirm the need for trusted adults to listen well and respond compassionately. I'll keep sharing their work with others who care about upcoming generations." You can see more of our current findings on our website, springtideresearch.org, where you can also make your own tax-deductible donation with a variety of giving options. Now, back to the episode.
Okay, I feel like I'm really getting connected to my inner self. And for me specifically, because of being Indigenous and in tribal culture and tribes, really tapping into the ancestors, angels, really getting acquainted to who came before you, because a lot of times, like I've seen like, I equate like the sins of the father is like you kind of having like reincarnated attributes of your older family members, whether like, you both like cheerleading, or like you both were into science, or like you both are adventurers, like little traits like that. And I feel like you start to experience things, as well as they did, also for connection, bridges of, generation, but also because that equates to my purpose, my soul's purpose. So, so I've really been feeling and tapped with, making space for people. A lot of people gravitate towards me, and some people are afraid of me. Some people, see the energy that I have. And it's very strong. And what I hear from a lot of people is that they feel very safe around me. And so I feel like, God is very safe. And so within that, I go to the lake, I'm at the lake right now as we are having this interview. So hearing the wind and seeing the waves and seeing the trees and really just honoring what God has given to us, and that we've destroyed for like a lot of years right now. But I feel like a lot of people have forgotten that the earth can give us everything that we are striving to perfect right now in today's society. There is medicine that can be found that can, do wonders. There are places that we can go that are free, that is made for everybody, you and me, that we can go to feel healing. It's just all we have to do is look up into the sky. The sky is the limit. So I feel as though I don't want to turn to what Bill Gates can do for me. I want to turn to what Mother Nature can do for me. Because at the end of the day, she's not going to give me fresh water and be like, oh, well, you got to give me 50 turtles for that. Or you can't have none of my water. She don't say, oh, you can use my branches to build you a hut, but you got to do such and such for me. No, she's like, here I am, plentiful. At some point in time, I am going to go into hibernation and you're going to have to fend for yourself. But I will be back with more than what I had last season. So everybody wants to be like, grow up, be an adult. But I'm like, growing up and being an adult requires me to live a life of being doubtful, not having confidence, being abused, and being left with trauma all my life. Or being in nature where I can be what I want to be, I can connect with the world, and I can continue to thrive. So really, which one is it? What helps me feel rooted? I am an artist of many mediums. I have professionally trained in dancing, and in my spare time, I like to do spoken word, storytelling, beatboxing. And so I feel like those are my prayers. At first, like I thought it was really like strange that like I don't normally pray like with my hands clapped to each other and like on my knees. That wasn't really something that connected to me. But I had to realize that because I have lived in a prejudice system, that I had to relook at how I naturally touch and tap into the spirit. And so what to other people may look like being on my hands and knees with clasped hands with my eyes closed and bowed, for me, that looks like making sounds with my mouth and moving to the natural rhythm that I hear. And understand that that language is literally me speaking to my ancestors, literally me speaking to God. So that is my connection. And that is why other people have to be on their hands and knees and clap their hands with their hands bowed and eyes closed, because they are not tapped into that. So for me, that is my continuation of letting the spirit know that I do understand the battlefield that I'm on. And because they have lynched us to each other and beat out our names, beat out our language, stole our music and our culture, that my code switch is me dancing, me making sounds with my mouth, and me speaking in my own tongue. I first want to say I wish that in the religion community that everyone can like unify, because I feel like there are definitely ideals in different religions that make sense, but that are expressed in a very harsh way. And I feel like everybody has a piece of the story. And that I feel like just like a puzzle, we can just, piece everything together. I feel like everybody be like, and the world can be all rainbows and ponies. But where I draw my information from is what I just said, from everything. Like I feel like there has been some Hindu ideals that I've liked. There's been some Muslim ideas that I've liked, some Christian ideas that I like, even some atheist ideas that I've liked. And I think that, again, when they say God shows themselves in the language that you understand, I feel like that really is important, because I feel like a lot of people in their spiritual walk are like, oh, I don't really know, or like, I felt like I heard, but I wasn't really sure. And like, when people say like God talks to them, like, what does that mean? And I feel like that is where your self-confidence and your unshakable faith and your unshakable imagination comes into play, because I feel like that will be the most important when we do walk that door of into our afterlife, of God asking, like, did you see my language that I have for you? Did you understand it? Because at this moment I showed you what, you asked for, but you seem like you act like you didn't see it, or you seem like you did see it, but you didn't do what I asked you to do, or you didn't even take the lesson. What's going on? So I feel like, me drawing from these different resources that I do have that are given to us, but then also going back and, to finding it to how I understand it. And I feel like, you understand it when your body reacts, like when you get goosebumps, or, you get a deja vu, or, you get like an aha moment, or what other people may say, a download of information where the spirit taps into you and you just know, so yeah. In the beginning of my Christian walk, I have been scared of just going to hell because I'm queer. And that has been like the focal point of my life, how I moved, how I dressed, how I talk, even like what I want to call myself has been a problem. And I feel like the reaction to that problem has really severely damaged relationships for people. And I don't think that they understand that on a level, because in their eyes, they're trying to save my soul. And in my eyes, I feel like you're breaking my soul. But that's too sensitive or dramatic for other people. But regardless, I believe that God has made me this way, and I'm a reflection of God. And, I have, my faith has changed like that, of being scared of showing myself to God. But I'm like, God don't care if I got on some heels, some booty shorts, and a crop top. God is just happy that I'm here. God is like, I'm glad you just showed up, boo. Like, I've been waiting for you. Let's get to work on saving other people's souls because we're on the battlefield. And who cares if there is a drag queen angel right beside you doing God's work? Do the work. Like, just worry about if I'm doing the work. Like, don't worry about what I look like. So that is where my faith is right now. Like, I don't understand how people are like, everyone is like welcome at the church. But if a hobo shows up at the church, if a prostitute shows at the church, I don't know, like a child molester, like we're turning them away. And it's like, well, hell yeah, they gonna go and stay inside because at least he's gonna be like, it's okay, I understand. Boo, you wanna do this thing? And we're like, oh, we all holy thou, but I'm gonna judge you and God's gonna judge you too. And it don't matter anyway because you just gonna burn. So we already know where you're going. Bye. But give us some offerings so we can keep the doors of the church open. What? Crazy. So no, my faith is, I know my spiritual background. I know that I'm more than just flesh and blood, that I am a spiritual body of light and flesh and blood that is connected. I understand that, yes, I have one physical life, but in the spiritual life, I have eternal life and forever life. And so therefore, my faith is finding my purpose, my spiritual purpose, my purpose, connected to God, connecting that in this matrix, making sure I have that vision, and making sure that before I leave this place, that purpose is fulfilled so that when I'm in eternal life, I can go to the next thing that my soul is learning. And that I understand and see God for me. And even though y'all are my spiritual spiritual sisters and brothers, excuse my language, but what y'all think, because at the end of the day, I'm going to be staring at God. Not you, me, and everybody else. No, me and God. So I want to make sure I get an A on that test. Yeah.
Visit springtideresearch.org to hear more voices of young people and to download our latest report, The State of Religion and Young People 2021, Navigating Uncertainty. Thanks to a very generous donation, the digital version of this report is free to download. Springtide Research Institute is supported by donors who believe in the critical research and insight-generating work we do on behalf of young people. Make your own tax-deductible donation with a variety of giving options on our website today. Today's show was produced by Marta Abuwaji and TJ Birnbaum, with original music by high school student Christian Unthank. Special thanks to the 10 guests featured on Season 5 and to all the young people whose voices and perspectives make our research possible. Follow us on social media at We Are Springtide and interact with a variety of resources connected to the 2021 report with the hashtag Religion and Young People 2021. Thanks for listening.